Good morning. Good morning, New Haven. What's up, wait up, Babz. Again, I don't hear you, and I know that's why the audience can't hear you, right? Because I need to turn your mic up. Can I hear you now? Let me see, Babz.
Yes.
There you go.
You hear me?
Yeah, at home I don't have to pick your mic up on the board or anything.
I know.
So,
Good morning, everybody. I'm Babz Rawls Ivy. That's Harry Droz. He's in studio. He's downtown New Haven. This is Lovebabz, Lovetalk. Enroue is our guest this morning. He's going to bring us, that Orisha love. You know how we love Enroue bringing us the good word.
yeah, that woosah feeling, you know. And really, it's all about finding your center, right? It's kind of like finding your center, because
Well, we need to find our center now, Harry, before we all die. These
well,
unvaccinated people, Harry, are going to kill us.
hey,
They're not going to kill me, Harry. I'm not going to go
listen,
out like that.
we're just a rock flying around through space, tumbling our way through space. So,
That's a little profound, Harry.
so it could happen any day now. We don't
That's
know.
very spiritual.
That's it. We're
That sounds very spiritual. I don't know how else to say that, but that's what it is. I was like, okay, all right.
well, I was listening this morning to people talking about family members. Well, there's an article on CNN. I actually mentioned it a few weeks back when the collapse of the building in Miami, that
Yeah.
that this guy was getting phone calls from his grandparents who died in the collapse, and it's strange, but so because I think to myself, there's no afterlife. I mean, if there's an afterlife, it's all about our energy, right? Because you can't destroy our energy, so our energy somehow it kind of you know how when you put a watermark on paper,
Mm-hmm.
that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of like a watermark on our energy, right? So yeah, traces of ourselves are flying around through space. I mean, just like we're flying around through space right now. So it's just that. So I've never seen it as, oh, you go through the pearly gates and somebody's gonna welcome you there. I just figured that our energy is gonna get recycled. But then you hear people talking about their grandparents were dead in rubble, and they got 16 calls.
But maybe they weren't dead.
Well, they were. The rescuers said, yeah, they were killed almost instantly. So, but 16 calls, and it was just static.
Well, apparently, Harry, there is something at work here.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So maybe there is an afterlife, or is that their little signature?
Well, yeah, I mean, Harry, you have to know it's not so much an afterlife, but life, right? Like,
Right. So I don't think
like
you could kill
I don't
us.
think death is the end of it. I think we just transition to another realm, another dimension, another
Right,
way of
because
being.
we're basically light, right? We're energy. So yeah, so you can't destroy it, but actually having your personality in a different that's the only thing that, that I've never, because if you take, I've said it before, if you take Harry's personality with his energy, right, somewhere, like if there is pearly gates, I ain't gonna be let in, or I'll be let in for a little bit.
I got you in, Harry. Don't you worry.
That's right. You
I'll
gotta
let
go
you in.
first. This way you
If
can
I'm at
say.
the door, Harry, I'm letting you in.
Well, that's the thing. You have to say, listen, he grows on you. You can let him in. He grows on you.
Listen. I got you, Harry. Don't worry. If I'm at the gate, if I'm at the door, I got you. You in.
I'm hoping they could recycle, some of this craziness, but
maybe.
All right, so Enroue's in the hostage room, so.
Oh, is he? Okay.
Let him in, and I'll bounce out. By the way, you're listening to Lovebabz Lovetalk on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio. And Q Enroue.
Is he outside?
Oh, there he goes.
Good morning, my friend.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
How are you?
You know what? All things considered, I'm still standing. How about that? All things considered.
You give thanks for that?
Yes. So what do you want to open with before we get into our conversation? I want to give you an opportunity to do whatever you like.
I just want to appreciate that opportunity, right? Just the openness that you always welcome into this space and have, and I'm sure, and not just with me, but like with people who you are hosting and engaging in dynamic and interesting dialogues with, and have been for a long time. So thank you, Babz, for all the ways that you're being your radiant, dynamic self.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. I don't know. We can start off with like good old ancestor song, and then
I like that, a good old ancestor song. Like we all sing this at home. Like, boys and girls, time for the ancestor song.
Come on, sing on. Well, so hopefully, right? This doing the same song, people listening.
They are listening.
Yes, right. There's that song. Right. Okay. So first we before I sing this particular song, we kind of call to our ancestors, and the way we do that is almost we just kind of saying, hey, like, hey fathers, hey mothers, hey ancestors, like, and then I'll go into the chant. Hey, ba ba ho, hey, yeah oh, yeah oh, hey, egun ho, hey, ba ba ho, hey, yeah oh, hey, egun ho, ba to fun wa se o, ba to fun wa se, ba to fun wa se o, ba to fun wa se, a se te fu wa la lo yo, ba to fun wa se, ba ye to fun wa se o, ba ye to fun wa se, ba ye to fun wa se o, ba ye to fun wa se, a se te fu wa la lo yo, ba ye to fun wa se, ba gungun to fun wa se o, ba gungun to fun wa se, ba gungun to fun wa se o, ba gungun to fun wa se, a se te fu wa la lo yo, ba gungun to fun wa se, ba gungun to fun wa se, ba gungun to fun wa se. So we give thanks to our ancestors for the ashe that they have passed down to us, right? For our abilities, for our tendencies, for our connection to life and to reality, right? To all the things that make us ourselves. We thank them for that, and we are using it today. So we give thanks to our ancestors for all that they are and their presence in our lives. And we also need to lean on them sometimes, even, right, to use that today, to be all of who we are today. We also need support in doing that.
All right. Okay. I feel the energy.
Welcome, right? Right, we're welcoming them, welcoming our connection to them. So, even with that, I was thinking a little bit about this morning and what we would talk about, or at least begin with. And my wife had a good idea about that, and then some other stuff about it kind of reinforced that. So just this piece. So Orisha worship and Orisha practice is fundamentally one, in similar ways to many indigenous practices and religions, where we recognize both the divine that's in and of nature, but also our intimate relationship with it and our partnership with it and our reliance on it, and both as a beloved, but also as a sibling, as a peer, as beings that have as much right to be here as we do, and that we actually rely on. So as human beings, if we look at animals, particularly here in New England, winter's cold, winter's harsh, right? Yet the blue jay, sparrows live outside all through the winter. Right? Mm-hmm. Deer, they're not like, oh, I got to go get the North Face coat, and big wool hat, the scarf, and I got to get the heating and right? They're outside. And so we are actually, in the scheme of things, more reliant, right, on kind of building the things that allow us to live to nature than anything else. They don't need to add things to how they're just living with the world and with all nature. And so, as human beings, we are much more reliant on them. And so our status is actually not one as like we're the controllers of, but actually like we are dependent on. And so in my tradition, it's one of the reasons why we really honor our relationship explicitly with these forces and what comes through them, both as divine that comes through them. You go into you're in the forest and or you go to a waterfall and you feel all this energy, all this stuff there, that happens. And there's a normality or regularity. Even as we go to the park, we may not feel the big whooshness of a thing, but there's some peace that we can connect to. And
it's a real thing to forest bathe or wood bathe, right? That's a real, honest to God, mood altering activity.
Yes. Right. Which as many things, right, that indigenous people know, kind of Western science is now this has some real benefit to human beings, right? So now it's got the stamp of approval, which for as long as human beings have existed, we've known that.
Yes.
But what it also means is that I think also now in the summer, right, people are going on vacation, people are going to the places and outdoors, and really powerful.
People are going outside.
The pandemic, that being outside, right, that kind of able to have distance and be outside was safer, even as we had to be careful. And so what it means, though, is as we do that, I just want to invite people to just pause wherever they are. If they're outside, even if you're inside, you're still connected to nature. To honor that, to be thank those beings, thank the forest, thank that place that is still holding that for us.
Yes.
As people, that we can enter into that. That means it's holding that. And I think that both in this way that I just described it, but also, we just got all this, again, official news that climate change is raging and is horrific about what people are doing. And so we also have to take some real invitation to what steps are really required to halt not just not honoring, right, an absence of honoring, but kind of active destruction of these places, of our own place.
The science says humans are the problem.
Right. And so that speaks to the relationship. Yeah. So like if we think about a family, right, the difference of, this family and these dynamics that I am also creating is a place of nurturing, right? And we can give thanks for that. We give thanks for the blessings of the health of our mental health, the spiritual health, the physical health of ourselves and our family and loved ones, right? And that's such a blessing and a place of nourishment. And wow, what happens when we are the ones, soiling? I don't want to use that word, but are kind of destroying that home life. That's on us, right? What we're doing, and that's there's some responsibility, not just in the individual. Right? What do I do as an individual? But look, kind of the systems that we as people have created, which are perpetuating that.
I will say this, Enroue. As bad as this pandemic is, it has forced us to at least remember that we have outdoor spaces and parks and places where we can be with nature. Like nature became center stage, just like the arts became center stage for this pandemic. Right. So it was all those things that we sort of took for granted that now become so very important to our well-being through this whole pandemic.
Right.
I don't think that's no accident.
Right. No, and it's actually really powerful that it's something that, there's all kinds of ideas around it, but like this imbalance or like, so climate change is happening, and I think that there are different ideas about, how do pandemics start and origins and kind of all these things. But fundamentally, it's also this like loudness and destructive capacity of nature. And so like we can't ignore it. Just as there are these like glorious, nurturing, wonderful places and possibilities, people talk about power. Like I got power and I want status and I want these things and I get to hire and fire whoever. Yeah. It's nothing when the tornado drops down on your head. Like that's a whole different type of power that we're talking about, right? Or a virus sweeping through, a pandemic. So what kind of power even with this vaccine, right? It's not like immunity. It means like, we can soften it so we don't get seriously sick and we don't die. But like we're kind of titrating it. We're like turning the volume down on it, right? But this relationship is bigger than us. And it really calls on us to shift how we relate to each other, how we relate to nature. I mean, we're not separate from nature.
Yes, that's a good point. We're not separate from nature.
And so the hope and the prayer, there's a verse of Ifa. So in the sacred literature of Ifa, which is one of the divinities, one of the Orisha, there's a verse which basically speaks of this relationship to the earth. And so I'll just share it briefly. It's a short one. Osa, the brightly shining one, Ifa, priest of the formed Ifa divination for the earth. The earth was warned not to make sacrifices to become wealthy, but instead to make sacrifices to protect her against her enemies. We are certainly alive, and we are praying that as long as we remain on the earth, that the earth may never be destroyed. See? So even in this, right, there's such this press, particularly in this culture, of like, what do I need to do to like be wealthy, right? And wealth in whatever way we want to look at it, right? But the focus on that, and instead, the earth is like holding us all. So we actually need to, instead of like pulling resources, I want to be wealthy, I'm going to pull resources from the earth. I just want to be wealthy, so I'm not caring about myself or my relationship. We actually have to look at, there are these forces that can actually harm us. And some of these internal things that we do, and some of them, are from the outside. And we need to tend to that so that we live well and live long, right? There's sustainability built into that. But very much in our culture, we don't think about, is the thing that we do, is this a sustainable thing, or is this just going to make me look good or feel good in the moment? And we are making the earth, we're not going to destroy the earth, but we will certainly do things that make it very difficult for us to live.
Yes. And I think the earth responds in kind. I mean, I think the earth responds to take care of itself. I think the earth says, I cannot trust these humans. So therefore, what, you know, I must take care of this body, and does. So whatever we think is catastrophic is just, and God knows I don't want to see anybody lose anything that they have, their lives, their family members. But I think the earth tells us how to take care of her. And oftentimes we're not listening. You know, we're not listening when we dam up waters, natural waterways, when we manipulate the soil, when we do all the things, when we fool around with the weather, when we fool around with, you know, the atmosphere, you know, the earth is like, okay, enough. Enough.
Well, there is no, I remember hearing once there was somebody said, like, there is no away, right? People talking about, like, I'm going to throw this away.
Right.
I hear this guy, we're going to throw it away. Like, there's no away. It is a closed system. That's like if you're in your house and, well, I got some garbage. Well, I'm going to throw it away and just put it in this other room. It's still, there's a moment where, like, that's going to spill out of that room, and you're then going to be living in that. And, like, that's what's happening. Like, there is no away. You know?
Yeah. There is no way. I think there was a whole documentary about where trash goes. And I think when people sort of let it go, when they put their garbage in the trash bin and then they set it outside, then that's the end of the process of my garbage. But really, that's just the beginning of the process of your garbage. You know.
Right. Well, the beginning of the process of the garbage was actually the manufacture of the product, whatever it was, and, like, all the wrappings and all the preservatives and all the things, right? That, like, and waste even from its manufacture, right? That just gets dumped into waterways, that gets buried in the soil, that gets pumped into the air.
Yes.
Right. That's one kind of start of it, and then we as the kind of consumer, right, are moving that along. But that kind of before and after, it's, you know, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind for many people. And so even with that, this tenderness and the support in this relationship is still alive. And so I think that's part of this balance of, you know, it's like a person who we're you know, a beloved of ours who, you know, is struggling, is traumatized, right? Can be lash out at times, and is still a beloved, you know, parent, family member, partner, child, right? And there's still that love and the tenderness that's there. And sometimes it's hidden, and sometimes it's glorious, and sometimes you're pushed away or rejected by it, or it's hard to be with. And, you know, there's a sacred river in Nigeria that goes to Oshogbo, Oshun, the Oshun River, which is this Orisha, which is a divinity unto herself. And there's basically pilgrimage that happens every year. But it's now a river that's polluted, right? You can't drink from this river. And it used to be that literally the waters of Oshun would be given to people as medicine, as healing, just by itself. But it's polluted now, right? And it's still a sacred river, right? It still has that. Yet, because of what human beings have done, that has altered part of our relationship. And so that's, I think, also part of the tension, right? It's not that, like, oh, now, right, these relationships are gone. It's like, oh, they're harmed, and we also have to reckon with that. And we still get to, you know, go to these beings and be in relationship with them in the best way that we can, because that's also our task, right? It's like, oh, okay, it's not like, oh, it's climate change is unrolling. There's all the flames and everything. So let's just roll along. We're still alive. And so how do we still fight and work to be in harmony, right? To thank and to say to our ancestors, yes, what you have passed on to me, these blessings, I'm embodying them. I'm using them, right? That's still our task. Even as things, as life is still a struggle, this is still our task. It's almost like it's not to, even though there's different, it's still not to lose hope. It's still not to give up, because we are the ones who are alive right now. Mm-hmm. So we are the ones moving something from here to there. What are we passing on? What are we creating? What are we nourishing and nurturing in our lives, in our walk here?
And even in the midst of a pandemic or catastrophe or
yes.
catastrophic things, that is still our task.
It's still our task. Exactly.
That's quite hopeful.
Exactly. Well, it's yes, and it's the like, it's just our task. It's we can choose all kinds of things, right? We can choose to numb out. We can choose to hurt. We can choose to manipulate and coerce and take advantage of, and like, I'm just going to extract for myself. And then there's logical consequences to that. We keep throwing the garbage in the corner. We keep the logical consequence that we'll be living with it. And some people, it's like the gated community, right? They can kind of keep it out and hunker the walls to kind of keep more and more out. It's not really out, but like there are people with that kind of, who have that kind of power and privilege to do that. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how they want to choose their time here, right? Through that perspective. And that's also limiting and dehumanizing, and certainly not a choice that I want to make, because really how I see what this task is and what this relationship is and the benefits, that I've had. What is the benefit of like genuine love between myself and my child is really different than, I used to work in kind of high-end woodworking, this restoration company in New York, and worked for a family and worked on a project, and like $20 million brownstone project, very wealthy family, had triplets, each child had a nanny, and like there was really no love between the kids and their parents. And so like that level of prestige and power, that also had consequences in it. And so, that's not something I would trade. But those become the cost, right? What are we willing to do for what? What are we taught is what our values are. Versus, hey, come on, we're gonna sing the ancestor song, right? We're gonna recognize and honor that we are connected and part of a lineage, and we're part of a lineage of those coming after us and have some responsibility. That's different than I'm just gonna go up on Amazon and buy the next 5 things I want just because, and get myself sequestered in my gated community, taller and taller walls, spikes and things facing outwards,
and then question your inability to be happy.
Right, and living with fear.
And I'm not suggesting that you're unhappy because you have the ability to buy things.
Right.
But time and time again, we've seen people of means buying things, trying to capture some happiness, when really we know, or we've seen or experienced, that if you just take a walk in the woods or sit at the beach or gather with friends at a simple meal,
right,
that you'd be surprised how much happiness and joy exist.
Right. I mean, United States, most, quote, developed, industrialized, all the things in the world, and has, you look clinically through, that lens of mental health, right? So as a, clinical social worker, you look through this lens, and like highest rates of, depression, highest rates of psychosis, highest rates of ill health, right? We got this way of eating that's killing us versus what we consider underdeveloped countries. And so there's a quality of life and a way of being which is really negatively impacted. People who are raised to just like, I just expect, and this is what success means, this is what power means. And it's like for this little sliver of people, and even, their quality of, that lifestyle does not necessarily mean here's this like overall wellness in terms of ourselves as human beings. And so that's also a very kind of real and studied thing in terms of how people are living and what does it mean and what resources need to go into the maintenance of, right, the presentation of who we are, the amount of resources that need to go into like maintaining that wall of I'm good, I got all the things, right? And that can be literally in a gated community, or that can be in ourselves, right? I'm gonna present to the world like, oh, I'm good, and I got the things, and everything is smooth, and right, and like, it's just deep feelings of isolation. And
yes, I'm lonely. I'm sitting in my house and I'm lonely, or I'm alone, and I feel because I see study after study and report after report that people are more lonely now than in any time in the history of the world. Mm-hmm. Which is baffling to me because we have, like you said, all the things. I mean, we have access to millions of things and groups and and still.
Maybe that's not the formula, right? Maybe it's, let me honor my people and the land and all this here and be in right relationship with all of these things. Right? So I can live long and well. Most of us, right? What is sustainable for the most of us as people, not as that person or that person. And that's individual and collective, and even as we are in the world, and there's also the world which is unfolding as it is, right? Not that I'm gonna say, I want this thing to change, and like everything changes. But it also means that if I start walking down that road, the things I do, and the way I'm being is going to have an impact, and that can have an impact just on me or the people closest to me, or on communities that I work with, or systems that I help create, and other people, right? And then that's how also some of the positive change that happens. But it doesn't have to be. I think part of the challenge is I know for me it can feel like heavy, right, and burdensome, like like the climate change, like right, or systems of so-called white supremacy, like that's these massive things. How am I gonna? But like we all do our bit, right? All I can do is like carry this little thing from here to here. Great, I'm gonna carry that little thing from here to here. And we all do our little bit.
Yeah, because I think you can get lost in the overwhelm of all of that.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like if you start to, because I see it with people.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we also need that, I'm going to go to the ocean. I'm going to fill up it. I'm going to go to the forest. I'm going to put my hands on the earth. I'm going to listen to the birds. I'm going to see, there's a sweet, right around my house, there's these two little baby mockingbirds that like perch in the trees and start like just sitting and chirping, and then the parent comes and gives them some food, and then they flies away, and then maybe they go to another bush, and but like just seeing like that is also occurring, right? And so life is still occurring, and we can still plug into that, and we can still be fed by it, and we can feed that, because that is also our task, what's asked of us, also what part of life is, right? How do we join with that? How do we find our way with that?
Because I feel like people are asking how to do that in all the ways, right? Like I feel like people are trying to get to a simplicity, trying to get to a simplicity in their mind, in their spirits, I mean, this is how all these conversations between you and I started. people were looking for another kind of experience of divinity, right? Or spiritualness or something that they felt like was lacking in their everyday practical lives.
Well, you know, we come from those practices. And so we can not, I'm going to go back to the way it was and do the things that were then. But can we take those tools and put them in place and apply them today? Because and it may be like, oh, here's this tool and we can modify it a little bit. We got some improvement, some technology, right? But fundamentally the hammer is a hammer, but we've gone from like a rock to like, you know, curved things, ergodynamics things, right? So, oh great, I'll use that, but it's still a hammer, right? I'm still got to build the thing in this way. And so we come from those practices that are about place, that are about relationships, that are about sustainability, that are about a connection to our people and communities and land and all the beings that are here and the divine. And doing that, that's about reciprocity. That's about both kind of what is our place, but it's also like who we are and like, you know, your purpose and my purpose and their purpose. And like, those are different, right? We're here for different reasons. We bring different things. We come from different lineages of people who can, you know, smell certain ways and kind of parse out those things, or we can build things and have a sensitivity with their hands or have a caring capacity. And those things are part of who we are, which are important to put into place. But we're in a culture that's like the one right way, the one right way, the one right way. And that is not sustainable. And that is not reality either. It's like we got to force things in. You know, it's like, here's the river, and the Army Corps of Engineers comes up, though that's inefficient, we're going to make this into this straight channel, right? And then destruction happens, right? And it's not sustainable. And then, you know, people are like, there was a reason why the river meanders and moves and does those things and has this impact on everything else. And we're actually, in our thinking we got it right, have actually caused this whole other problems, which are harmful to us. Okay. Maybe that's not the one right way. Maybe we got it wrong. Maybe we don't know.
And we don't actually ever hear that part, but
right. we feel it. It hits us, right? Oh, the wildfire, that's hitting us, right? It's climate change, that's hitting us. But it's like, oh, you know, it wasn't just like humans in a general way. It's like very particular ways of being. And so, you know, as people are like, well, what are the spiritual practices and the ways that help to find a sense of a slight shift of like, I am a person and I am humanized in this experience and a part of life and existence. And we come from people who have those practices, and those people, unfortunately, have been also harmed and eliminated because of this system of this one right way. Right? If there's a mode of one right way, you can't have the multiplicity of, you know, indigenous people who are on this land, right? It's got to be like, nope, we got all the one right way, sorry, and it's this one, and everything else. If you don't serve this, then you are eliminated. And that's what's happened to indigenous people all over the planet. For the sake of land resources and wealth, body resources, people are jammed into and either said you walk this way or you're eliminated. Yet, right, you can't actually eliminate and destroy that yearning and that urge to like, well, there's a different way of being. Something is not being served in this one right way because maybe it's not that. Maybe we drank the Kool-Aid and so how do we like stop it and purge ourselves and cleanse ourselves from that, which means doing something different, which means doing something that can feel uncomfortable, right? Being healthy is uncomfortable when the habitual pattern is unhealthy.
Yes.
Right? And so there's discomfort, and we've bought into a notion that the discomfort, if something is uncomfortable, oh, well, then it's wrong. We got to do the things to right? Hide the cough, numb out a little bit, just sit back a little deeper in that cozy chair versus, oh, so for example, like I went running yesterday. I'm not a runner. I was an athlete when I was young. I had some injuries, so like I haven't been that active recently. But I'm like, my ankle's feeling better. I think I'm gonna try to like do that a little bit. And like, my body's sore today, and I know that like I gotta keep going, and then it will not be as sore.
Right.
But there's such a pull of like, that must have been wrong. I must have done something wrong. I'm just gonna like not move my body for the next week, and then it'll feel better. Right? That's like the climate and the culture that we've cultivated here. And so to pivot back, right? So as particularly, I think as African heritage people, we come from people who had a different relationship with each other, with our ancestors, with our notion of God and the divine, with the land, and with all these forces that surround us. And there are some of those traditions and practices that are still alive. Many of them are not, because they've been actively destroyed. And yet there are ways to find our way back to those ways of practicing that are still relevant today, right? It's not like I have to be this ancient person, but like, for example, I go to the ocean, even into the garden, and it's like, let me bring something as an offering to recognize this relationship. And so I'm gaining by this relationship of sitting back and like the openness of the ocean and the calmness that can be there, or letting the power and size of that put my problems in perspective. And so I can then leave something or relate to the ocean like, oh, like, thank you for helping me and allowing me to be in this relationship where I can benefit, where I can receive some healing, I can receive some peace. And so I'm also giving something to you. Just like, a person who welcomes you into their home. Like, can I help you clean up? Or is there something I can do? Or can I get that off the shelf for you? That's the reciprocity that actually comes from, right, these traditional indigenous practices that have survived, right? And we are still here, yet they're shrouded, and we can actually lean into those a little bit more and find our way back to these things to help us be in right relationship with ourselves, our people, our ancestors, the land, the earth, and each other.
Oh, I love that.
It's still our task.
Still our task.
Still our task. Because it's still reality.
That's good. I like that. I would take that away. Still our task, no matter what. Still our task.
We get to the crossroads. Which way is it going to be? Our task, our purpose, these relationships are just like, that's really like sweet and cozy over there. Or is it like, oh, this is like sustaining and life affirming? What if we leaned into like what is that deep part of life affirming and nourishing and in the right relationship versus like, that just like tastes really good.
I like that. And oftentimes it is just that simple.
Yeah.
And it's just that simple, the choices that we make about how we move forward and how we live and how we be, right? It's just that simple,
And once in a while, or like as a choice, like, oh yeah, I want that thing. Fine. But does it come from a place of this other sustainability and fundamental honoring and nurturing of our like the broadness and the depth of our humanness? That if we're actually taught that the exception, right? The yummy dessert, that should just be the main course all the time. Right?
Yeah.
And then that has consequences. Right?
It does. But all things do, right?
Right.
All things do. And that's why we try to balance, or we try to, not go too heavy one way or the other. Like you don't want to deny yourself dessert, but you don't want to have dessert 24/7, right? Like
Right. And right now,
That's not sustainable.
But here's the thing. Right now, we're so out of balance that anything in the other direction feels like suffering.
Yes.
Right? It's like, oh, you mean I just can't just eat the cheesecake whenever? Well, maybe for today, just have it at the end of the day. Oh, no. Right? You are oppressing me.
Yeah.
That's where we got to? That's where we're at. Okay.
You know my struggle. You know my struggle. That's my struggle. But you know, I clearly see that. Like I see it in a lot of ways. Right. I see that in a lot of different things.
Yes.
You know. Oh my God, that was so good. Now that's gonna stay with me. That's gonna stay with me.
Good. Excellent. That stays with me. That's in my head all the time. Like, oh, I really want that cheesecake. All right. No, wait. I'm gonna do this other thing that's important.
I'll come back if I still want it.
That may not seem as sweet, but like, oh, I actually need that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. Yes. You know. And I get it because I wrestle with that. I have said
this is really hard.
I feel oppressed. Why can't I have this? This is oppressive.
Right. Because that's the thing. We've been raised on like, I just get to go take the thing I want without realizing that there's actual power and goodness in what are we giving, like what are we feeding, what are we nourishing and being nourished by versus like, I just want to go and just take the thing.
Yeah. No, yeah. That's such a good point. That's such a good lesson to apply to a great many things, Enroue.
I'm seeing the impact of this particular.
You know my struggle. I'm telling you, and you know we didn't talk before this, so you had no way of knowing that is my internal struggle. But it is. So I appreciate bringing it up offering it up for deeper discernment.
Yeah. Right. And that's so last thing is like, so in my tradition, like change happens and we need to make sacrifices to create the peace that we are actually seeking. Right? 'Cause things shift all the time. And so these are the things, you know, sometimes we're offering a thing that's wonderful. And sometimes it's like, I want to do without, right? But it's about actually creating some of the peace that's sustainable that we're seeking. If we literally eat the cheesecake all the time, like we will die much sooner.
Yes.
That is not a peaceful life. This is not, right? And so, how do we? It's not just in the moment, but it's just a little thing, right? Because then all our moments become just a little thing. It's like, all right, I need to have a different relationship with even what I think goodness is. Because if I'm only thinking that goodness is like the sweet and the extra and little treat, then of course, why else wouldn't I just want that? But if there's goodness that's actually like, oh, right, I get to be present, I get to be healthy, I get to be not bouncing up and down on the way that sugar is running through my system, then the perspective of what that goodness is much deeper and greater than the get the cheesecake. Right?
I like, you know what, that resonates with me, that there's goodness in, you know, I never thought about it that way, that there's goodness in the pursuit of the health or whatever, rather than just having the sweet thing. Like
yes,
that did something to me, that triggered something in my brain about how I move. I'm not kidding you. I really feel some kind of way about that. And I never saw it that way before, but now I do. I really do see it.
This is the unlearning that's important. So we can then be open to like other ways.
Yes.
And not just the one, right? What we're sold on is the one right way.
Yes. Oh, I have such a different vibe now. I see things very differently.
Wonderful. That's the
particularly
blessing.
around my health. Seriously, I can't begin to tell you. I'm gonna chat it up with Harry after you leave. I'm like, Harry, this is what I learned. And I think Harry has learned it too. There is goodness. There's goodness in this whole other thing. Not so much just because we could have whatever, but there's goodness in this other part too. So this is why I have you come, because it's very personal to me. I know other people are listening and they love it and I get the messages, but this is really about me and what I take away and learn. Everybody else, I'm glad you're on the journey, but this is
well, it's powerful and it's a blessing for me too, Babz. I really appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you, and
because I love cheesecake too. So this isn't like abstract. I'm gonna do the teachings for you people out there. It's like, oh right, this is
for me too.
It's for me too. Sitting down and eating the pint of Ben and Jerry, that's not the thing anymore. Used to be the thing. It's not the thing anymore.
Yeah. It's like now I can appreciate. I have a couple of scoops and I'm good, but now I'm not gonna sit here and eat the whole. I'm not exactly there yet, but I'm gonna get there.
But I never thought that would be possible. I was like, why would you just have like 2 spoonfuls of the thing?
Right. Like this whole container. Like, what? It doesn't seem like it's that much. It doesn't seem like it's that much. Oh,
right. Look at the serving size, Right. But that's part of there's a lot in there. So I have been as much on this journey as anybody. This is not a done deal. This is like my body's hurting. Oh yeah, I got to keep doing the thing because I'm in a system, right? So as a black man, I'm in a system that is not like so happy with my flourishing, right? Unless I buy into certain things, right? Which are then not going to really be about my flourishing. So these are all real.
Yeah.
We all got our tap.
Oh my gosh! Thank you, Enroue, for a wonderful conversation this morning. I so appreciate you, and I know you'll be back.
I will be
in a couple of weeks, right? You'll be back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're organized and like made another time and everything.
I know. So we can come back and do some more contemplative thought and some discerning of some other things, and
excellent,
and focused and centered in the Orisha, and paying homage to the ancestors as we go along.
And if people have particular questions, feel free to let me know or let Babz know, and I'm happy to answer particular questions as well.
All right.
Or not. I mean, I'll just talk too. I can do that. All right, Babz.
Thank you so much, Enroue. It's lovely to see you.
So good to see you.
All right. Take good care.
Bye.
Okay, Harry. I know Harry's somewhere in the studio doing some sort of kind of thing. So, Harry, it's the 10 o'clock hour. If you just tuned in to Lovebabz Love Talk on 103.5 WNHH, live streaming on New Haven Independent, we're glad you're here. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Yes, 103.5 WNHH. Woo. Yes, that was good. Those last few moments really did it for me. I mean, every time Enroue comes, it's very personal to me because I don't have a church home, and so this gives me a spiritual space to discern and be contemplative this little hour, and it does me a world of good. I can't tell you how good it feels to sort of turn my brain to these kinds of matters. And it does. So thank you, Enroue, for that. It's the 10 o'clock hour. It's the second part of the show. I don't have a guest for the 10 o'clock hour, which is fine. Which is absolutely fine. I do have a guest tomorrow. Aya Beckles Swanson. She is the new director of the Concat Lab. And I'm excited to talk to her. And she'll be here tomorrow morning at 10:15. I think that's going to be a good conversation to hear what she is plotting over there and what she is putting her spin on around entrepreneurs and projects and, that kind of thing. So, yes, I'm excited. Very excited. Very excited. Anyway, that's where we are. So, you know what? I meant to mention Sam Edelman popped by the other day on the porch. His new print magazine launches Thursday. And I forgot what it's called. But it's a beauty. He brought me the mock-up. It's beautifully done with, of course, pictures by him. And he's got all these great people writing for him. And I think it's going to come out quarterly or something. But it's a nice piece of work. So high five, Sam. So maybe I have him come on and he can talk about this. He's teaching right now, which is a beautiful thing. So he's teaching science. Our Sam, our intern, who we adore. So he's teaching science. So I'll get my hands on his print piece. I'll just go buy it, and then I'll just hold it up so y'all can see it. Anyway, so yeah. What else is going on? Oh, listen, the New Haven Docs Film Festival is going on. There's a lot of cool films this year that I think people ought to see, and they are at the they're going to be at the library, and they're going to be at the library showing films, and I think some at Cafe 9. And they're all pretty much free. There's some that they ask pay what you can kind of things, but for the most part, I'm hosting the talk back for when Claude got shot. And if you've never, well, I don't think you've seen this film, but you should see this film because it's a different kind of film about gun violence that is very thought-provoking. And I came away, I will tell you, I was resistant to see the film because I was like, I don't need to hold space for any more black kids with guns killing people, But this is very, very different. Nobody died, but what happens afterwards is truly remarkable, and it's an ongoing work in progress. And I hope that people see this film because I was quite moved by it, and it is worth your time. So, and I'm going to be facilitating a conversation between the filmmaker and Claude, who the film is about. And the film follows 5 years in the life of Claude Motley as he tries to recover mentally and physically from being shot in the face by a 15-year-old carjacker. So now this 15-year-old is 20, right? And I'm sure the world looks very different at 20 than it did when he was 15. At least I like to believe so. So there's a relationship here, and I think people will be very interested in not interested in a way that let's do this, but interested in a way that we all can reconnect to our humanity by simply reconnecting to our humanity. Instead of reacting in ways that push us farther away from our humanity, that we can absolutely use our humanity to sort of make change. So if you have some time, see the film. If you have some time, because it is worth seeing and worth having a discussion about. And I'm looking forward to that. So I'm hoping people will come and listen and see this film and be like, wow, it's a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of perspective. And I think people will fall out where they fall out in what they relate to in this film. I mean, there was so much of the film that I related to as mother of sons, as a mother, period, as raising kids in the city, all the things that are out there that capture their attention, you know, and clearly not, yes, and clearly not. This is not always about poverty. It's not always about poverty. You know, there is something else at work here. You know, now that doesn't mean to take the focus away from poverty, as if, because you know what folks will do, they'll try to strip away poverty as part of the problem, and poverty is a great deal of the problem in a lot of these. But every so often you get a case that comes along that is not about necessarily poverty, as a, well, not directly. Poverty plays a part in the influence of the folks who do the influencing to folks who are not in a poverty situation. That's, if you can understand that. I'm trying to talk in a way so that I don't give away the daggone film, but I want people to see it. I hope people come out. So it's Thursday at the New Haven Free Library. You need to go because it's a limited amount of tickets. So because, you know, social distancing, so you have to register. So if people are going, you need to register for this film, and yeah, register for the film, and come, because I think you'll leave with a sense of thought-provoking that you never get to see in these kinds of films. So anyway, register for a ticket. Yes. Anyway, so that's it. So the film festival kicks off, I believe, tomorrow, the 10th. It kicks off today. I think the film festival kicks off today, and it runs, let me see. It runs a good bit. Yes. So opening night, it's tomorrow. Opening night is tomorrow, the 11th. And it starts at 9:00 at Sally's Pizza. So they are doing a whole thing. So anyway, the first film tomorrow night is the opening night is featuring the film Vinyl Nation screening with a short film, The Matchbox Man. So that's tomorrow night. The vinyl record renaissance over the past decade has brought new fans to a classic format and transformed our idea of a record collector, younger, both male and female, multicultural. The same revival has made buying music more expensive, benefited established bands over independent artists, and muddled the question of whether vinyl actually sounds better than other formats. I don't know. I bought a record player a couple of years ago because I missed records. And now that there's a record shop here in New Haven, Elm City Records, or Elm City Sounds, I think it's Elm City Records. I bought a couple of records and played them on a record player. And I kind of enjoy that. So Vinyl Nation digs into the crates of the record resurgent in search of truths set in deep wax. Has the return of vinyl made music fandom more inclusive or divided? What does vinyl say about our past here in the present? And how has the second life of vinyl changed how we hear music and how we listen to each other? So I think that'd be a wonderful film. And if you like records the way that I like records, and I kick myself because I've just tossed out all my records. I just tossed them out because I replaced everything with CDs, which is ridiculous. I don't know what I was thinking, but a lot of us did that. So now I'm slowly buying back the records that I really, really love, which are a lot of records. Now the short that's playing with that is The Matchbox Man, directed by director Gorman Bouchard. I had him on the other day talking about the New Haven Docks. He's the founder. Visits Charlie Mack, who began buying Matchbox cars in 1963 when he was 7. From his initial 20 to 30, his collection exploded to more than 42,000, one of the world's largest, prompting him to turn much of the Connecticut home into a showcase of nearly every model and variation ever made. And while he gives a look at his blistering array of colors and styles, he presents a history of a humble toy car that became an international phenomenon. Matchbox Man. Oh my God, I bet you he has, I mean, if you got 42,000, and I bet you he could tell you just about every last one of them, when, where, how, whatever. So that might be useful to see. That might be, yeah. Sign up for the film festival and check out some films. Seriously, get yourself some. Listen, there's a lot to do. Art's the thing. So get yourself, sign up, go to New Haven Docks, and get you a ticket to some of these things. You won't be disappointed. You won't be disappointed. And you know what? A heat wave is coming, so being in the public library might not be a bad idea. So tomorrow night it kicks off at Sally's. So I believe they're not going to be inside Sally's. I think they're going to be in a parking lot or in a lot, and they're going to show these films that way. So it'll be a wonderful night. So you know what? Go order you some daggone pizza and some libations, and show up. I think it'll be good. The film festival is always well received, and there's a bunch of films that I want to see. Like there's a film I want to see Thursday that is competing with the talkback that I'm doing on Thursday about when Claude got shot. But there's another film that I want to see about this guy who became a piano virtuoso with his left hand because his father cracked him with a hammer when he was a kid, and it's just such a compelling story. But they're doing it at the church at St. James and on Olive. So I really would love to see it, but I'm at the library at the same time, so I'm going to miss it. But I can always go and screen it myself, which is fine. But I won't get to see the performance of the guy playing the piano. That's really the thing. So there's enough in this film festival that will capture your interest, like sex, weed, rock and roll, haircuts, and who? There's a lot of kinky stuff. There's a lot of thought-provoking stuff, a lot of fun stuff, and a lot of like whoa kind of stuff. So get yourself to the newhavendocks.com and get yourself tickets to go see some of this film festival. Seriously, get yourself to there. What else is going on? Let me see. I had a whole bunch of stuff going on. Let's see. Yeah, and a heat wave is coming, so people be mindful. The weather is going to be janky. I actually like it hot. Some like it hot, and I'm one of the some. So it's going to be hot. And yes, the Elm Shakespeare is back in the park. So the Elms Youth Festival of Shakespeare partners, professional design team with the amazing youth performance is free August 13th through the 15th. You want to catch this. I think this is the first time they've done a youth festival, and they're showing they've got kids doing a bunch of Shakespeare plays. I think 2 or 3 of them. 5 plays from 4 community programs. The anti-violence group Ice the Beef presents Romeo and Julio. as a culmination of a year-long collaboration with Elm Shakespeare. The production debuted at the International Festival of Arts and Ideas and includes an interactive epilogue in which the performers explore how the tragedy might have been averted. If you know the story of Romeo and Juliet, they have a teen camp, which my niece, Gracie, well, Ife's niece, Gracie, but we claim her too, is doing Pericles, a sweeping epic of love, loss, shipwrecks, and family, with 30 characters, 6 locations, and 3 shipwrecks. Not to mention a couple of mistaken identities. I've seen Pericles, and it is a ride, baby. It is a ride. So these young people are taking it on them, and I support it. As You Like It, presented by Elm's Teen Troupe, offers original live music and dance and a glorious tale of love with no less than 4 happy couples, all performed by some of Elm Shakespeare's most experienced students. I wish Margot was in this troupe because she was so very good at commanding the language of the bard and participating in this troupe. I mean, they still use her pictures, for God's sake, and it's been a few years since she's been a member. And finally, the festival will be kicked off by an irresistible opening act, a double feature by Elm's youngest performers, and a culmination of their summer camp experience, presenting both Midsummer's Night's Dream and Henry V. It will feature the players' camp signature, DIY, kid-driven aesthetic, and promises to delight. I'm like, these kids are invested in the bard, and it is lovely, lovely, lovely to see. And I'm telling you, it does something to a kid when they can work as a community learning Shakespeare. So FYI, if you got kids, you might want to think about the Elm Shakespeare and the many camps that they have and the many programs that they offer for young people. I mean, Ice the Beef doing Romeo and Juliet. I mean, you can't get any cooler than that. And I'm sorry I missed it at the Arts and Idea Festival, but you might be able to catch it between the 13th and the 15th, if you the 12th and the 15th, if you get yourself to Egerton Park. But go online to Elm Shakespeare and reserve your tickets. I mean, we all have to reserve tickets, right? Because COVID has limited our ability to just like go in mass to things. So they have to keep the numbers tight. So don't be just showing up at the park and then getting all huffy because you can't just stroll in. Go online, reserve you some tickets, and then go. Come on. And don't be a problem. Because I will see you and I will call you out. I'm telling you. So yeah, so go. It's gonna be good. Although I know this weekend's gonna be pretty hot. It's gonna be very hot. But that's all right. That's all right. A little hot weather might not be bad for you. So let's see. What else is going on? I'm trying to look at all these. Oh boy. I think everybody that's running for office, for any kind of office across the land, is just white. I've got nothing against white people, but man, can we get some people of color in these elections? I'll leave it alone. Let me see what's in the Washington Post. I usually start my mornings reading the Washington Post, but I didn't this morning because I was dragging. Oh, I know why, because I was watching Jennifer Hudson on Good Morning America performing in New York the songs of Aretha Franklin, because the film comes out Friday, I think. So you can go to the movies and see it, or you can live stream it. You could stream it on HBO Max or something or other. I think the streaming of films is here to stay. I mean, there'll be people who are diehard. I have to see things in the theater, and I used to be one of those people, but I've gotten accustomed to having my space. So I don't understand these governors that are banning these masks. I don't understand this. This makes no sense to me. Texas governor faces legal challenges on mask mandate ban as hospitalizations soar. I, Ted Cruz calls for zero COVID-19 mandates, while Rand Paul urges defiance amid Delta variant surge. Delta ravaged Southeast Asia shifts away from China's vaccines. I mean, I don't understand these governors. Do they not see the suffering that is going on in their states? Do they not see their hospitals pushed to the brink of collapse? Do they not see deaths mounting? I'm just trying to understand, who are these governors and what the hell are they governing? I don't get it. Texas, Mississippi, stupid Florida. Like, what is happening? Oh my gosh, I don't understand it. I don't understand it. And how do you ban masks when the numbers are ridiculous? How do you stand up there and tell people, oh, a mask going to be against the law? We're outlawing masks. You know, I don't understand it. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. And then Greece is on fire. Well, an island on Greece. You know, Greece on fire. And I don't know. There's fires everywhere. And what are we doing? And I think the earth is trying to get us to pay attention to the earth. I really do. You know, I think the earth is begging us to pay attention to it. And I think the fires and the tornadoes and the catastrophic weather is the earth saying we have to do something else, and do something else fast, and do something else better for the sake of the earth. Oh boy, oh boy. I don't know. It's just strange and terrifying how we've gotten here in so many fronts. A pandemic, fires out of control, catastrophic weather, and people out of work, you know. And now we're seeing people are just quitting their jobs. I think because they've spent these 18 months soul searching and really started to get a better sense of what the meaning of life for themselves. And it's not being stuck on somebody's traffic for 5 hours out of the day, you know, or being overwhelmed with project after project, that people want a different quality of life. And I think the pandemic helped some people see that and articulate that and to move on that, you know, a different way of being, a different way of earning money, a different way to be in the world. So it's been, this pandemic has been an amazing learning opportunity in ways that I don't think anybody thought. I think people will be like, in this pandemic, and all we're going to do is focus on the pandemic. But then you start to look at quality of life kinds of issues, and you start thinking, you start questioning your own quality of life and what that means. And you're like, whoa, this is what I'd rather be doing. This is what I'd like to be doing. Well, this makes more sense for my life, you know. And I think people are getting that awakening all across this country. I don't know about the world, but I know about this country that people are starting to sort of feel like, I want a different experience of my day-to-day practical life. And it ain't being in somebody's traffic, and it's not being in an office trapped with people I may or may not like. That it might be I like being home and creating work from home and and being able to see my kids and being a nicer spouse and a kinder, gentler neighbor, all those things that you weren't before. Now you've got to do it for 18 months and you find, oh, I've really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed this. So I was like, okay, I feel that. And so everybody's taking stock. And I think Enroue's conversation this morning is very adjacent to that, where people are, you know. I mean, when you get notices and reports about parks have never seen this many people in it in the history of parks, that's got to tell you something. It's got to tell you something. So it's got to tell you something. And people are enjoying these parks in ways that they never thought they would or could. More people are at the beaches, more people are at the parks, more people are walking in the forest, more people are outside. Then they're taking their children outside and their grandchildren outside, and people are delighting in forest bathing. I mean, they're doing all the things. I mean, yeah, some of them are out there with their daggone gadgets, but nonetheless, they're outside. Outside. I mean, I spend a great deal of time on my porch. Well, mostly because I can't spend time in my living room because it's a dorm at the moment. My whole apartment is a dorm for the moment. So the entertaining space that I have is my porch, which is really nice in the summer. Come the winter, I don't know what's going to happen. So maybe there'll be some changes by the time the fall comes. Maybe things will be different, and folks will be living in other spaces. We'll see. Well, I don't know, but I'm grateful to have a porch space because it gives me opportunity to have my friends over and be outside at the same time, which is really nice. And the porch has become its own destination. Like, I don't even have to be on the porch for it to be like it should have its own Instagram. Like the porch should have its own it should have its own following because it's its own entity. And it's an interesting phenomenon. And it's rooted in porches are a very southern thing. I mean, it just is. And it just takes me to my southern roots. I think that's why I gravitate toward it. So, and it's a level of hospitality. It's a very soulful, genteel hospitality to sit on the porch and serve food and drink to people that you admire, like, and love, right? Like, it doesn't get any better than that. And that's the whole point. That's the point. People come and gather and great conversations. So some part of the porch is going to be curated next year for activity. Some part of the porch will remain for sacred conversations. And some parts of the porch will be about, I don't know, a podcast. I think. I'm working on it. There's some interest. We'll see. So that's the things that I'm working on as I get ready for this next surgery. So I'm like trying to beat the clock on a lot of things, trying to get a lot of things done. Trying to get a lot of things. I will tell you, I'm very surprised. I'm very excited to say, I've got tickets to the opening of the Met. And I'm very excited by that because this year's opening of the Met is the first time that a Black conductor is composing something in that space. And it's called Fire. Fire Shut Up in My Bones, and it's with Terence Blanchard, libretto by Casa Lemons. And so, Shut Up in My Bones is what's his name? Charles, the writer for the New York Times, Charles Blow's moving memoir. Terence Blanchard adapted it for its world premiere in 2019 at the Opera Theater of St. Louis. And so it's coming. It's the opening season. It's going to be debuted as the opening season for the Met this year. So it's it features a libretto by filmmaker Kazi Lemons. The opera tells a poignant and profound story about a young man's journey to overcome a life of trauma and hardship. James Robinson and Camille A. Brown, two of the creators of the Met's sensational recent production, Porgy and Bess. I hate Porgy and Bess. It's right up there with Native Son as far as I'm concerned. But the music is stunning. Porgy and Bess, the music is stunning. I just hate the story. I hate Porgy and Bess. But the music. So anyway, they co-directed this new staging. So Brown, who's also the production's choreographer, becomes the first Black director to create a main stage Met production. And baritone Will Liverman, one of opera's most exciting young artists, stars as Charles alongside sopranos Angel Blue as Destiny, Loneliness, Greta, and Latonia Moore as Billy. So it's an opera by Terence Blanchard. If you don't know Terence Blanchard, who is a famous jazz musician, you may know him from like Mo Better Blues, that kind of thing. So this opera is based on the book by Charles M. Blow and a libretto by the filmmaker Kazi Lemons. And it's a co-production of the Metropolitan Opera, La Opera, and the Lyric Opera of Chicago. So so what am I saying? I'm going opening night, and I'm going to be fabulously dressed. It's only a few weeks after surgery, so God help me, Jesus. I'm gonna have to be in a cane or something. I mean, I know I'll have a cane, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited. So we're going. Although we won't see Kazim Abdullah because he's not performing until October 8th, the conductor. But Yannick Nyenzet Zegwin is conducting for the opening. So I just can't wait. Can't wait. So I am looking forward to this. The Metro is going black, y'all. Blackly black, black, black. So I'm going to the opening night, September 27th, with my love, Benita Applebaum. She got tickets. And so the Tinas will have their debut. Tinas, meaning my hips, will have their debut. So I'm looking forward to it. So I am truly excited. Truly excited. And I don't have Charles M. Blow's book. I follow him on Twitter. He had a bunch of sons, a couple of sons, maybe 3 sons, but I think one just graduated from Yale a couple of years back. So he spent some time here. And sometimes you can catch him on CBS Sunday morning for the commentary. He'll do a commentary. Uh, but he writes for the New York Times, and he's quite good. And he gets people gathered. I'll just say that. I'll just say that he gathers. He gets you gathered. And if you don't know what gathered means, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. He's a journalist. He's a commentator, and an op-ed columnist for the New York Times, and current anchor for the Black News Channel. So, yes. So I think he is an interesting guy. I didn't know he went to Grambling State. He went to Grambling State, which is the HBCU. I did not know that. So he's divorced, 3 children. That's what I thought. He had three children. He lives in Atlanta and New York, Brooklyn to be specific, where he's raised his children. Yeah, so his oldest son, Taj, graduated from Yale, and he has twins, Ian and Aman. They graduated from Middlebury College and Columbia University. Okay, and he's bisexual. So, and he's divorced. He's got 3 kids. So anyway, I find him he's very smart and witty and quite provocative in a good way. Not like these fake provocateurs. He really is thoughtful in the way that he gets people to, think about their absurdity. That's what I like about him. He just gets people gathered, and and it is a wonderful thing. So if you have mine, follow him on Twitter. But this is going to be an amazing piece. So if you have mine and the resources, get yourself to the Met this year and don't miss this production. Don't miss Terrence Blanchard's production of Shut Up in My Bones. I think you will be, and I wonder if it'll tour. It debuted, but I wonder if it'll tour beyond the Met. Yes. So Terrence Blanchard, trumpeter, composer. He's only a year older than I am, so he's 59. Well, he's 59 now. So he started out as a member of the Lionel Hampton Orchestra. I loved Lionel Hampton. I used to see Lionel Hampton at the Newport Jazz Festival, because Lionel played the xylophone. I don't think they call it the xylophone anymore. I think they call it something else. But he played the xylophone. With the keys with the sticks. I love it. So anyway, he's with Lionel Hampton Orchestra, and then the Jazz Messengers. So he has composed more than 40 film scores and performed on more than 50 films. So a frequent collaborator with Spike Lee. So that's what I mean. Mo Better Blues and all the things. He has been nominated. He has been nominated for 2 Academy Awards for composing the scores for Black Klansman and The Five Bloods. I've not watched I saw Black Klansman. Andrew and I saw it at the movies. I've not seen The Five Bloods, and I believe it's on Netflix. But it's Spike Lee's movies are so long. And so Terrence Blanchard has won five Grammys from 14 nominations. So he lives in New Orleans. Which how can you be a musician of merit and not live in New Orleans? That's what I say. So he puts out records, he puts out music, he puts out all those kinds of things. So I'm looking forward to this piece. I know it's going to be, and if it's on CD or vinyl, I'm buying it. If it's on CD or vinyl, and CDs are like $10, $15, maybe $20. Vinyl is like $30. You know, a record is like $30 these days. You know, so I don't even know. Like, how do you even? I don't even know. I don't even know. I don't even know. So so if there's an album, I will definitely get it. Uh, oh, and he did the soundtrack for uh, One Night in Miami, which I just loved. I love that film so much. I love that music so much. I love that film so much. But now I feel compelled to go and watch The Five Bloods. I'm a fan of Spike Lee, so I'm compelled to go watch it now. I just need to find some 3 hours of my life to sit and do it. That's why good rainy days are perfect. But on the flip side of that, good rainy days with a porch, when you can sit on a porch on a rainy day. So I think what I'm saying is I just have to figure out some time to watch that film. And I will. I will. I'll figure out some time to watch that film. It just came out last year, so it's not like I'm terribly late, terribly behind. I will get round to it, as we would say. Get round to it. I'm still chugging away with my reading. I'm on a roll, buddy. I done knocked down 3 or 4 books. So I'm gonna keep going. This book reading train is gonna keep moving through the track. So once I put one down, I'm gonna pick another one up. And I'm gonna keep it moving. And we're just gonna keep it moving. Because this is my summer reading. And I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying this Terry McMillan book. I have forgotten how much I really enjoyed her writing. You know, she writes for grown-ups. You know, she writes for grown women. Not to say that nobody else does, but I like reading about a 50-year-old woman rather than a 20-something or a 30-something-year-old woman. And I don't have nothing against 20 or 30-something-year-old women. I've already been there. I like the next phase. I like this midlife kind of vibe. And this book is very serendipitous on a lot of levels. So that's why I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see what happens, because I'm just seeing lots of parallels. And I hope there's a happy ending. I love a happy ending. I know. I'm like that. I see the world through rose-colored glasses. I do. So my time is almost up here. So I'm about to break camp, and then I'm going to get something to drink. And then I got to come back for 11 o'clock meeting with the Arts Council on Zoom, I imagine. And, you know, if people only knew how much I hated meetings, they would never invite me to them. I hate meetings. I really do. Particularly when they can just be emails. But I get it. I'm gonna show up, and then I got some other stuff to do. Hey, Harry.
Hey, Babz. Oof.
I know you've been working hard. Who is Paul on today or no?
Yeah, he's on at 12 today.
All right, who's he giving 20 minutes to?
He has Doctor. I'm not sure if they're talking about COVID. More than likely, they're talking about COVID.
Okay. Oh, he has a doctor, but you don't know who the doctor is. A voodoo doctor, a witch doctor, what?
No, I'll tell you right now. Yeah, COVID facts with Dr. Dalal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That'll be good.
So that's at 12 today. Stay tuned.
All right. Well, we're about to break out.
Yeah.
And you sound like you had your today's not a no, tomorrow is Stan the Man, because I like to listen to Stan the Man. I like the jazz.
Yeah, tomorrow at 2. Stan the Man.
Yeah, I like to listen.
Jazz Haven with Stan the Man.
I try to get someplace where I can actually listen without getting in and out of my car or some other kind of thing, because I enjoy what he picks. So
I got dust all over me. I was moving stuff around in here.
Oh Lord, you didn't buy an air cleaner yet? That way that'll eliminate your dust problem.
You know, it's funny because Paul texts me, do we have an air purifier, or do we have a air purifying system in the office? I'm like, how long you been at the office? We have stale air that doesn't move around.
Harry, order a daggone air purifier for that studio. If Paul is dead set on having guests in there, at least you can clean the air in that space.
Yeah, it would make sense.
You have to just keep the door shut because you can't clean.
That's
the
the
air
thing.
In the office.
You got to keep the door shut. That's the thing.
Yeah, just put a sign on the door. Please keep the door shut. Air cleaning. That's all. Put a big damn sign and put it in English and Spanish.
Oh, you think you think that's gonna work?
It might work, you know.
You think that's gonna work?
The other part is you just put a code on the door and lock it. And
Well,
give it to a girlfriend, and she'd be the only one that could get in there.
See, I got a key. We could lock it, but you know what? The few times I've locked it, for some reason they've had to get in. And it's like,
Get in and do what?
I don't know. Privacy, I have no idea.
Okay.
But there's no privacy here because I should announce right now that I have cameras all over the studio.
That's true. You do.
So, I mean,
just go ahead and go to your favorite Amazon and order the air purifier so you can keep the air clean. Get a mid-size one because you don't want a tiny one because you'll just be annoyed.
I gotta find a new outlet.
Oh Lord. Well, you got, buy an extension cord that way you can plug it.
I got so many extension cords in here. I'm surprised everything works.
So now it's a fire hazard. Okay. All right, I'm out of here. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We'll be back. Same bad channel, same bad time.
All right, deuces.
Thank you, Harry.
Cue music, Harry.
We'll keep